Working on this service this morning, she said to me, "Steve's got a perfect song for this day," and I said, "Okay, great." And then we read through the scriptures, and she said, "Oh, Steve's song won't work with this." So I said, "Great." And I changed the scripture. And I forgot to tell Donna. Our gospel reading today is from the Gospel of Mark. It's chapter 9, verses 33 to 37, and then verse 41. Then they came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, he asked them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" But they were silent. For on the way they had argued with one another, who was the greatest. Jesus sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "Whoever wants to be first must be last of all, and servant of all." Then he took a little child and put it among them, and taking it in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. But if any of you put a stumbling block before one of these little ones who believe in me, it would be better if you had a great millstone hung around your neck and you were thrown into the sea." Don't you just love Jesus? How many of you have a necklace on today? How about we make it a millstone? We'll go out to Salado and we'll just toss you in the pond. Jesus uses hyperbole to make his point, and his point here is children are important. Children are important. Not only should we let the children come, but we shouldn't put anything in their way. We shouldn't put anything in their way. Children's Sabbath is about 35 years old. It was started as a late part of the civil rights movement. And it was started as a way of raising as an issue in America through churches, children, and poverty. Now, we have celebrated our children this morning. We've laughed at them, we've laughed with them, we've sung with them, we've done whatever that was with them, and we've sent them off to their own worship time. And in all of that, I believe there were no stumbling blocks. But in preparation for this morning, I did a little looking, and there are 17 million American children living in poverty. 17 million. In Franklin County, Kentucky, 14% of our children live in poverty. Every night, children go home having eaten all the meals they're going to get at school. They know the refrigerator is going to be empty. They know the cupboards are bare. Poverty isn't something that is over there. You know, we like to say, well, it's in Appalachia or it's on the Indian reservations, but we don't want to say that it's in Franklin County. We don't want to say that it's in Frankfort. That there are children who are having stumbling blocks put in their place in front of them that they will never be able to overcome because they don't have food. They come to school every day hungry. And they go home on weekends not knowing if there will be a meal before next Monday. And I wish I was making this up. So our social workers in our schools said, we can't let this happen. And in their own way, they started a little program and they called it Backpack Snacks. And they collected items to put in a backpack to send home with those children that they knew were living in a situation where they might not get another meal until Monday. And they did that for about 2 years. And in those 2 years, they realized that the project was way, way, way too big to run through their little offices in the school. The leader of it came to talk to me, explained what they were doing, and said they didn't have any room and they wondered if we had any room. I said, yeah, we got lots of rooms. We've got lots of rooms. We started with them up on 3rd floor. Well, that wasn't very good planning on our part. You may blame me for that decision. Because they had to haul all the food up on the elevator, take it all the way down to the far end of the church, and put it in a room up there. And then they had to load the bags and carry it all the way back and take it down the elevator to take it to the schools. Well, we got smarter, and now it's just right down there on 1st floor, right by where they come in. But you can come into this church any day of the week, and you are likely to find someone in that room, stocking shelves, separating food items. You can see men from our church when Kroger sends pallets full of food over, coming down and emptying those pallets and taking it and putting it in the room. On Wednesday nights, you'll see folks packing those. Sometimes it will be grouped from our church, our children, our youth, some of our Sunday school classes. Sometimes it will be from the Elks, or from Kiwanis, or for Rossum, packing those bags and sending them to school so that no child in Franklin County has to worry about a meal on the weekend. Now, of course, those meals are little packages of crackers that I understand are called nabs, and those little bitty, cups of applesauce, and maybe a microwave macaroni and cheese. But that's better than nothing. That's better than nothing. I am so grateful that they came to First Christian Church and asked if we had space. I'm not going to brag that this ministry is ours, but I'm going to brag that we host it, and that we serve it, and that we serve with them. And there are other services in this county that are meant to help keep children clothed, keep children in their homes, and keep children fed. And if you take any one of those three away from a child is not going to be able to learn. The Resource Office for Social Ministry started right here in this building over 30 years ago, when the minister said, let's get together and let's figure out how we could really help people that are in dire emergency situations. Last year, they made sure that more than 1,000 children stayed in a home where there was heat and there was water and there was sewer. More than 1,000. And we think that we've got a county with 46,000 in it. There shouldn't be 1,000 children in this community who don't have a warm house, who don't have a roof over their head. We have the food pantry that supplies food and food bags, and every day people come to this church and they fill out a form, and that form is sent to Rossum, and from Rossum it's sent to the food pantry, and they fill bags, and the bigger the family, the more bags. And then someone from the church drives out to the food pantry, picks it up, and brings it back to the church. So that very same day, that someone asks for help, help arrives. Some days it's only 1 or 2 bags. One day it was 20. But it happens every day. And it doesn't just happen at First Christian Church. For the food pantry is a ministry of all of our churches together. So if it's happening 2 or 3 times a day at First Christian, what's it doing at First Methodist or Memorial Baptist or Forks or any of the other churches in our county? How many people are living in poverty right here at home, and we think it only happens some other place? Once a year, Children's Sabbath comes around, and we celebrate our children, and we rejoice that none of our children are in those situations. And we reconsider the things that we do here. We don't charge our children or our youth for anything. Well, almost anything. We pay for it as a congregation. We don't want any child to think they can't come because they can't afford to pay for their bowling, or they can't afford to be part of the music camp that Maria does, or Vacation Bible School, or to be part of Little Acorns, or any of the other programs we have that are focused specifically on children. This church supports, and I am grateful for your generosity and thanksgiving. But is it enough? Is there more that we can do? Or are we at the end of our generosity? Because there are still 15 to 20% of our children living in poverty. There are still kids going home every weekend not knowing if they'll get a meal. There are still families being put out of their home because it's been foreclosed or they've been kicked out. Those aren't evil landlords. They're our neighbors. And they do their dead level best to keep those families in housing as long as they possibly can. And the plant board is not the evil big twin sister. The plant board works with the churches and works with Rosem to help and keep those people, those ones in need, the ones who are having an emergency, to help keep them in their homes. And still, 15 to 20% of Franklin County live in poverty. I wish I had an answer. Jesus' answer was, "Let the children come unto me." We say that every day here. Children, come unto me. Not me, not First Christian Church, but come to generosity, sponsored, spawned, fed by the grace of God in our lives, so that we can be a place that does a little bit to a problem that is so big that nobody can solve. God, help us to make our little bit a little bigger in the days and weeks to come.